What is up, people? If you're here, say hello. Gonna see. Say hello. We're gonna do some charting today, go over some of the tweets. Gonna go over some of the charts that I posted on Twitter. If you have a comment you want me to look at a chart, also let's put that in there for sure. If the music is too loud, definitely put that in there. Yeah, I hope to get a webcam soon so you can see my ugly face. But I'm gonna wait maybe like a couple more minutes before putting any going through my list right now. I got a long list. Actually I should add a list so you guys can see. I can add some names to the list. Let's see if I can do that really quickly. Add window capture. Okay. Yep. Let's do this one. Let's try this. I will add chart requests. You guys see that? Let's see. Oh, someone is here. Apple. All right, we got an Apple request. I wonder if you can actually see this though. You can see that I'm doing this. It's not showing it for some reason. Might have to take that out. All right. So I'm gonna remove that. Tesla would also be nice. Definitely, I'm gonna do Tesla. Let's look at the broader market really quick, because I think that whenever you look at a name, you definitely have to look at it in the context of the indices. Whenever I'm trading, I'm always checking to make sure that my thesis aligns with the overall market. If I'm bullish, the market doesn't look like it's at resistance, like it's about to sell off, etc. I think, if you haven't caught the video that I just posted, I was talking about how I played these 3 days right here. And what I'm looking, and I didn't really get into, do I watch esports? Yes, I do. I used to play League of Legends back in the day, back when I was in high school or whatever. If you have any stream chart requests, let me know. I'm adding a list right here. But what I'm looking for QQQ, so here's what I'm thinking for QQQ. We basically haven't touched the 50-day since the March drop, and since we've been able to recover these moving averages. So we're gonna get a bounce, and we did get a bounce a little bit on Friday, but we didn't get a green hammer candle. We actually got a red hammer candle, which is significant. But what is also significant is the fact that buyers were able to push the price above this supply level right here, this 283 level that I'm really interested in, that I am really pounding. So right now what we have on QQQ is an overshoot and a back test of what is essentially the breakout line. And so, back test of a breakout is not the worst. We do definitely need to hold Friday's low. Do I sound like Skadoodle? No one has ever told me that. No one has ever told me that. But that's kind of funny. We definitely need to hold Friday's low. So if we do not hold Friday's low, there will be more structural damage to the chart than like we're in danger of basically retesting this area if we close below 275 or below Friday's low, excuse me. So 270, 271, I do think it's going to hold, but the thing with QQQ right now is that we have what I call what is I refer to in the video I just posted as a hanging man candle right here. And a hanging man candle is a topping reversal candle. And it is essentially is a gap up, filling the gap, closing below the open, and then also a gap down afterward. This is like a 70% confirmation reversal pattern in the trend. And we have a short-term trend break, which created the hanging man, but it's also a longer-term trend reversal, which coincides with the top of a SPY megaphone pattern, which I've been handing home. So the thing about this hanging man candle is that we have this gap right here that will act as supply if we ever test up in this level. Let's just draw it to the top, to the perfect open yesterday. So I really expect any bounce here. Let's say there is a bounce on Monday, Tuesday up into this 298 area, I really do expect this bounce to be sold off into because the selling pressure on a gap down, people will want to be anyone who is long here will be want to cover into this area to wait to see if we will be able to break the level above or the high, excuse me. So this is the context that Apple and Tesla are working in. It's capped. It's capped. That's basically what I'm working with. So I don't expect Tesla and Apple to be making new highs this week. What I'm looking for is what I refer to as like healthy consolidation. We can see it. We were really extended from the 9-day and the 21-day, and we can see some healthy consolidation happen right here after an extended move up into a little bit of a correction. So I would really like to see us base over this 283 area. If we base over the 283 area, I will be looking for a breakout setup in the Qs and all the stocks that I normally am trading with, Tesla, Apple, etc. So this is the context for which Apple and Tesla are sitting in right now. Now, let's say, okay, so some possibilities are we gap down into this the wick, so in between 279 283. Basically all you want to do is you just want to be watching the Friday low, and as long as we are above this Friday low 271.73, you're like the longs are like the overall, the greater trend is still intact. So that's what I'll be watching. I'll be watching to see if we can create a couple inside days in this candle area right here. Inside days are great. Be forming some sort of indecision pattern that will be able to be taken over by the buyers later on. So let's look at Apple really quick. And let's apply, basically, we can apply the same concept that I was just referring to. Let's just extend this out a little bit. So we have a gap down, not an abandoned baby because we have one buying candle over here. So it's not an abandoned baby. If you don't know what an abandoned baby is, it's also a reversal pattern. We have a green hammer candle and a close above the 21-day. So basically this is the range right here between 120, 128 that I'm looking for Apple to consolidate in. If we're able to get some consolidation this week, Friday, I will be looking potentially for some swing setups on Apple long. But this line right here, this line is from the low of Thursday. This is a little bit of an overshoot. This low of Thursday actually acted as a cap on Friday's run up. So this is a pivot for me. So oftentimes on Twitter, I'll be saying, oh, pivot long. this is where I'm getting it from the lows and highs of previous days, especially previously in the week. And a pivot long would be if the buyers were able to open price above the pivot, we would probably see 128, 129 on, let's say, Monday if we get some better action in QQQ. And around 128, around this low of Wednesday, I'll be looking to get out. Another way to play Apple on this, and something that I probably need to be better on, is instead of buying here, let's say we gap here, the expectation that we're going to go to 128, patiently waiting for the buyers to push the price up here and then catching the short up in this congestion area. The congestion area short with a reversal, like that is probably a more higher probability play than trying to capture only like a 5 delta move, when you probably would be able to get a nice sellable level right here. It's a very easy to level to play against because of the bottom of Wednesday, this level right here. So that's basically how I'm looking at Apple the next couple days. Overall, the trend is healthy still. It's held the 21 day. Look at what happened the last time we bounced to the 50 day. We consolidated for 4 days and then we gapped up. This was on the earnings news, so we're not going to see the same price action. But overall, the trend super strong. And look at this touch, the touch of the weekly candle right here. I think it's healthy. I would love to see an inside week on this name, preferably, like I mentioned, above this 120 in order for us to continue upward. This wick right here will be a little bit of a cap, I believe. Like this is all sellers right here. So I'm looking, these are sellers. It needs to be reconstructed. And that's what I'm going to be looking for this week. Tesla, it's a very similar story. If you have any questions about that, definitely put in the chat. I can go back to it. Omer, if I'm pronouncing your name right, if not, you can tell me. I'm looking in the NASDAQ. I'm hoping for some consolidation. If we get a rally into the gap, I'm afraid that it'll be bear flaggy-ish. I'm hoping for some healthy consolidation in the NASDAQ, especially if we're able to gap down further and then the buyers push the price up and we got a perfect. And we got a hammer candle off, like let's say, so let's say we gap down on NASDAQ. We gap down to basically this 275 area, top of the breakout, also where the buyers came in last time. I would be looking for a hammer candle, would be signaling a little bit of buyer support there. But let's turn to Tesla. Let's turn to Tesla. I love trading Tesla. I think I was a little bit timid this week because of the price change. I was really used to trading Tesla like huge contracts or hugely priced contracts, and now that the contracts are less, I have had to adjust to it a little bit. But we can see on the daily chart that this trend line that I have, the green trend line that goes all the way back to 2019, which is when I started trading Tesla. Actually, I started trading Tesla 2019. This trend line has been breached, and now it really, in order for it to remain a solidly strong momentum name, I would say like basing above this trend line would make it very strong. Now we still have the secondary upward trend line, which will act as support as it continues to move up, very similar to the 200 EMA. We have a smaller time frame trend line, upward trend line, tertiary trend line that I'm looking at right here. I see this move happened in 3 waves. If you're familiar with Elliott wave theory, you have the first move, the first correction, the second move, the second correction, and the third move. And so Elliott wave theory would suggest that we're going to have a little bit of an ABC corrective wave in Tesla. So we had the first pullback, and we'll have a lower low into a deeper pullback. My guess is the deeper pullback would be somewhere on this trend line base. It would be healthily above the second wave right here, somewhere around 375 or sorry 360, 350. So I'll be looking for that. And the key, you can catch many different sides of the wave, but I will be extending, for example, this supply zone out in order to better catch a potential wave down, because I really don't expect Tesla to crash. I mean, someone asked me in my personal life the other day, is Tesla a bubble stock? And I was like, no, like it's been one of the strongest stocks for the last 2 years, and they've consistently outperformed their numbers. Back in January, I told my friends and my family to buy it at 350, 400. And I told them to buy it again in March at 360 when it hit. I really like the name. So it's a great name. Now, the valuation is a little, fucked up, but that's what happens with all these growth hot stocks. You're going to have to pay a premium for a better company. But I'm looking at basically, let's say like we get back into this 360 area, I'll be looking for a turn for sure. I'm looking for, you can see another little congestion zone right here. If we get anywhere close to this 500 psychological name, well, that would be interesting. But if we get anywhere up in here in these wicks, upper wick areas, basically 500, I'm hesitant to be buying long at that level. I know a lot of people just like hitting the call button on Tesla, and they've been really making money on it, but it's so volatile that I don't have the stones to be able to. Okay, so the thing with Tesla is that, so Omer just said we have battery down 22nd. That is true, and it's something I'm looking at. If we are able to get a deeper correction into this 360 area before September 22, theoretically it could happen right here, 916 area. I will be looking to buy calls. I would like this MACD to resolve, and I would like it to resolve the red bars, so that we can start another leg up. Also, S&P, I know that they didn't include Tesla this time, but last year there were 3 days in September where they included names, and the official S&P inclusion day is September 16, I believe, or September 19. So there's a confluence there, September 19, September 22. And if any of y'all have been trading for a little bit, you might be able to notice that it's really interesting to see the technicals line up with the news. Sometimes it's just crazy because how it sets up how the news will confirm the technicals instead of the technicals confirming the news. That it's really interesting how that works. So what I'm interested in is, okay, let's say I would like us to hold the upper half of this channel right here. The upper half of this channel in order for us to continue up. So that's what I'm looking for, this area right here. Again, I would prefer some consolidation, but Tesla, I mean, it moves like 5% every day, intraday. The wicks, the volatility has not gone away with the split. And I will, I mean, that's why I like trading it. You got to catch the levels intraday. That's why some of the times that I trade it, I had a really bad trade on Tesla on Friday, which is why I ended up losing money that day. I was hoping to play a bounce up into the 430 area, and I got it. I got the bounce. I was up, 30% on my call, and I didn't sell even when I hit my level. I don't know exactly. I think it hit my level, but it didn't quite hit it. So I was hoping that it would get one more leg up so I could sell it. And I ended up getting trapped and having to sell down here for a loss. And that was just a mistake, a mental mistake that I made. So I'm going to be looking at some other names if you have other requests, for sure. One interesting thing that I'm looking at is, okay, so the NASDAQ is weak right now, but I have right here the list from Friday, and you can see that on the list from Friday, there's some interesting names that are green, names that have been consolidating for a long time, mainly the airlines, what I call trash stocks. They are really trashy because they don't move. And I have been an advocate of selling options. You could either sell puts, sell calls on this name, buy Iron Condor, whichever. But doing some consolidation option spreads on this name definitely would have made you money in the last few weeks. But I mean, these are basing, and they're basing at levels where they're holding up in red days, and it's something that you want to be looking for as money looks for somewhere else to go. I think we're going to need a news catalyst in order for us to actually get some legs on these names, like names like BA, NCLH, CCL, even the banks, BAC. The only reason I think that this was increasing was because of the dividend, but it's on my watch list. I mean, we have a change in trend right here. We were able to break the downward trend line, and I think that's significant. Anytime a stock is basing and holding strong, it's very significant. Another thing that I'm looking for this week is something that I will be actively trading this week is the Chinese tech names. They are also a couple of them. Let's see, Baidu. So Baidu's green on here, but they were relatively strong, and Baba filled its gap right here, had a good, strong close. I really like the breakout. So this is the breakout right here. You can see. I drew my supply zone, which turned into a demand zone. I'm looking for a breakout, retest, bounce on Baba. I'm looking to see if we can fill up into this area, very similar to some of the other names. But the reason I point out Baba was because it is relatively strong compared to some other names like Netflix, etc. Another one that I'm looking at is JD. We have in JD also, we had a really strong move up from here. We had a, what is that? Fib level to fib level, 61 to 87. So a base here beneath this fib level. So I think Anthony just asked what I think about NVIDIA with their new GPUs. I mean, it's definitely was priced in already. That's sort of why we had that parabolic move up. But longer term, it's definitely a good sign. I'll look at NVIDIA chart in a second. What I want to see right here is an inside day above the 9-day moving average. That's what I'm looking at, JD. I just love these relatively strong names during red days. It's something that I look at definitely. NVIDIA was a name that also had a stronger close than some other names, and I say it's a stronger close because you notice on Tesla, for example, it closed above its primary upper trend line. This is the secondary upper trend line. It's a really strong buying opportunity. Etsy, for sure. It's a strong buying opportunity because if you look at the trend, every 21 day this is the blue line right here. Every 21 day was bought. And I just think I really like the thesis on NVIDIA long-term anyway. And price was just so extended right here. We had to shake out some of the longs. But again, like I mentioned at the beginning, this needs to be fitting with the thesis of QQQ, the overall NASDAQ. If the NASDAQ is going down, NVIDIA will just be a less weak name. It's not going to be able to build momentum to break this to 538 level. In order for us to break this 538 level, we'll have to have some consolidation on the NASDAQ. And let's say like we are able to consolidate above this level, I'm definitely going to be looking long, potentially even buying leaps on the name. Definitely. All right, let's look at Etsy. I'm going to look at Amazon next because it's a different scenario than I've been saying with Tesla or NVIDIA. So Etsy it's at 118 right now. It's been trading like one of these, momentum retail commerce, e-commerce names like Wayfair, for example, Amazon Shop. And what's hard about Etsy is the volume, the price structure. So let's actually zoom out here and add a study. I'm gonna add my volume profile study right here. Okay, so if you look at the volume profile right here, super thin. Right here, we bounced off of this volume shelf. We bounced off this volume shelf on Friday. Okay, so what happens if this volume shelf is breached? So what happens if, like, does anyone know? If this volume shelf is breached, the next obvious target is this volume shelf to the downside, which is also this box. So if you're curious about how to, this is just a side note. If you're curious about, what's Trump's index? I'll read that in a second. If you're drawing supply and demand areas, if you're curious about supply demand areas and you draw a supply demand area, a good way to back test it is by pulling up a volume profile and seeing where the increased volume is, because the volume shelf will act as support. So you see, like right here, it coincides with the volume shelf a little bit. I mean, I drew it at the wicks below instead of the actual congestion area. Same thing with this one right here. I have a bigger base, or a range box, I would, as other people call it. But this is like really thin right here. So do I think it's going to fill this area? Only if we have a deeper market correction. But right now, what I'm looking for, let me just turn this off again. If you're interested in this volume profile, it's on Thinkorswim. It's a preset, but you can customize it. So what I'm looking for Etsy is basically is very similar to a lot of the tech names. I'm looking for it to hold above a certain level. So I'm looking for it to hold above this box right here. I'm looking for it to hold above this box right here because this is the supply demand box. I'm going to call it a pivot for now, but it needs to recover this greater trend line. We broke the trend back from April. The trend was this thing. If you can draw a line right here, boom. Actually, I'll just draw it for visual sake. You can see it. So we have a touch here, a touch here, a touch here. I bought right here with the expectation that we would continue. Didn't work. Again, we're seeing this 1, 2, 3 ABC correction. So we might have to fill right into here, 100. I would be a buyer right here, right in 100 area on this supply level, on this demand level. I would definitely be a buyer right over here if we're able to get it. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to set an alert for there. Now, if we're just consolidating here, we're just going to have to wait until we see some type of breakout pattern emerging, potentially like a rounded base, bull flag, some type of inside day formation. Right now, it's in the middle of nowhere. Like right now, it just needs to form some sort of recognizable pattern or it's not tradable. If it stays below this upper trend line, like in this area right here, it's in danger. Like you can catch this move down if there's a deeper market correction to 100. I might keep that line right there. Okay, so Fabricio asks, with Trump saying that the vaccine can probably come in October, what do you think it's going to do to tech stocks if money flows somewhere else? Where to? I mean, there's been vaccine news since June. I remember back in June or May when, Moderna, Novavax, Pfizer, they all like jumped up like 8% on different days because, they had different clinical trials. In my opinion, like politicians will always be trying to keep the hope alive of a vaccine, but until there's some like I think the market has already accounted for that. I mean, we're at the highs, we're above the highs. There's already been a shift in the way that investors are investing in the market, and they've been investing into this. There's been like what some people like at Bank of America, Goldman Sachs have called a secular shift in the market toward these e-commerce, and you can see different names. You can see different growth patterns for e-commerce stocks. Like there was one that said that e-commerce had grown in the span 6 months what it was expected to grow in 5 years' time, which is crazy. And that's why we see these explosive moves in these prices. Is that going to change? We don't know. We don't know. But as of right now, that the price is saying it's not going to change. It's just cooling off right now. So I don't expect money. Like the only way money flows back into financials in the way that it's been flowing into e-commerce is if the Fed decides that it wants to raise interest rates. That's the only way. Right now, it has the most dovish stance. It's basically pumped up its balance sheet. Like I think there's this guy on Twitter, Suru Paxana. I don't know how to. I just know their handle. I don't know how to pronounce their name. But he was explaining that the Fed's balance sheet is trading at 148 times its earnings, whereas the market is trading at 60 times. So we have a lot more room to go. I forgot where I was going with that. So if the Fed raises their interest rates, then we could see a rotation into bank stocks. But right now, like the rate is so low that they're really Peru. Thank you, that guy. He's amazing. I like that guy. He makes so much. He has so many good calls and he has a lot of haters, but he knows what he's doing. So I'm looking. So the fact that we're going to have higher low interest rates just is encouraging people to invest in the stock market right now. So I don't expect anything to change in the near term. This is just the beginning, my friend. Okay, let's look at some different names. So we have some earnings coming up. One of them that I'm looking at is Peloton. It's interesting. I think Goldman Sachs gave a price target of 100 by 2021 for Peloton, and they hit 92 on Wednesday. So it's just really interesting how the price is just front running on these great news. Sure. I'll look at Chewy. That one also had a big pullback, I remember. What's interesting about Peloton is that it's held this primary upper trend line. So basically the names that I will be looking long if there is a bounce in the market are names that have held this upper trend line. So far we've seen Nvidia, Tesla, Apple, and Peloton. FedEx. Yeah, there's so many good names with earnings coming up. This bounce over on the 21 day over the 9 day, it's strong. I really think that we can get up into this 102 area on strong earnings. We've had some really crazy earnings reactions recently. I mean, just look at Zoom and Crowd and Workday, or sorry, DOCU and Workday, to be honest. There's and Salesforce. I mean, just so many crazy earning names. We should go through those lists as well. That the question becomes, do you think it's priced in? I don't think it's priced in on Peloton. I mean, look at the stock. We've just pulled back to this upper trend line. Actually, this is a value area, if you know what trend lines. Yeah, Zoom is insane. So Zoom is I mean, all gaps need to be filled eventually. That's sort of, I think the stat is that 95% of gaps are filled. I didn't chase long here. I actually traded it short on, I believe on Friday. I was able to make a little bit of money. But I mean, Zoom, I think in better market conditions, this gap fill is healthy. It's healthy and it allows the moving averages to catch up. We're able to get some sort of rounded base right here. It will create some really good momentum setups in the short term. So let's look at the I love looking at the 1 hour chart. If we're able to hold this 363 level, allow the moving averages on the daily chart to catch up, and then create an igniter candle out of this base, that's when I'm going to be going long. If you don't know what an igniter candle is, it's basically a candle that pushes where buyers confirm a move over the moving averages, starting a rally in the name. So I'm going to be looking for some type of basing pattern right here, potentially for a move over this 400 level. If we're able to get a nice basing pattern and then we're able to peek ahead right here, I'm going to be looking long and on this name. I think the short side is kind of limited just because of this gap, but the long side, there is a lot more potential. Zoom is kind of a crazy stock though. So there's just so many names like that have these. So Crowd gap build. It's if we have better market conditions on the NASDAQ, if we ever get back onto this lower trend line test, I will be looking for a bounce on Crowd. You see this nice little W pattern breakout. We're basically retesting the breakout level, which is not a bad thing. This is a good candidate for a bounce if money starts to flow back into tech for a target of this 144 area right here. I have a long bounce list on my list. They include so many of these post earnings gap names like Crowd, CRM. Sorry, that was loud. So CRM, the pullback to my 161 fib level right here, included with a 3-bar. If we can get some kind of move, some kind of basing pattern here as well, that allows the moving averages to catch up. If we get any touch of the 21 day, on here, I'm going to be looking long. But it's really tough to, some of these names will move overnight a lot. But there's days when you can see in the pre-market the money is flowing back into a set of names, and I think it's a healthy practice to keep what's the way to call it, sympathetic stock lists. So if the market is, if we're flowing into Zoom one day, it's also going to flow into CRM, Adobe, and DOCU and Workday. So like these are just names that you can put in a little bundle, and you can trade all of them together. You could create a strategy where you're trading one against another. So if you think that there's a higher delta play on Zoom compared to Adobe, you can go long Zoom, short Adobe in order to take advantage of the sympathetic movements in the stock names. And it's a very low risk strategy because you're able to hedge with another name that you're seeing is closer to one of your supports, etc. So that's a really advanced strategy, but it's something that I do not do too often. I will do it on, for example, Zoom and NASDAQ. I'll go long Zoom, short NASDAQ in order to hedge my position, long Tesla, short NASDAQ, etc. This is the way that I'm able to hedge midday in these sort of like really volatile conditions. My favorite hedge is long UVXY, long stock, long Tesla, long Apple. Overnight, for example, I'm able to hedge with UVXY, which is a volatility indicator, if you're not familiar. Let's look at DOCU now. Do you think if FedEx continues to report banger earnings that UPS might follow higher? Yes, I do. I mean, that's the way this market has been going. Sorry, I'm going to look at FedEx because it's interesting. I'm talking about earnings. You know, honestly, wow, I actually, I don't trade FedEx too often. I don't even have any I don't have any lines on my chart. We can go through a little charting session right here on FedEx just to see what's up. Let's look at the three-year one-day chart to see where FedEx has been in its journey. Yeah, they were slammed. It was priced in with the Zoom earnings. Okay, so let's do a little charting session on FedEx right here to see where we could be going. So this is 2018. So this is content right here. Get into like, I put the fib level at the high, put the 0% at the low, and I will actually edit this in order to get the exact low. So this is 89.69. Oops. And the high is 274.66. All right, so we got that. And I will actually make it a different color because it is a 3-year fib level and I need to be able to actually see my charts. So I will make it transparent and we can see where we've been, where we're going. Obviously the downward trend line was broken. Let's see if we have any sort of sell-off pressure. We have a 3-bar right here. And we have a gap up here, which has not filled yet, actually. So let's draw a line right here, right at the bottom. Come on. Let's draw a line right there. All right, so we're basically creating targets on our list right here. You can see this resistance right here. You can see this congestion right here, right in this area. If I were to show the volume profile right now, it would show that this area right here has congestion. So I think long-wise, the delta, and by delta I mean the distance from the stock price currently to my target stock price is kind of low relative to where it's been. Probably should have got in somewhere. Should have paid attention after this earnings gap, and the earnings reaction is coming up as well. We've had a huge run up since the last earnings. The expectations are really, really high right now on FedEx. I think rightfully so. Let's just draw this as a supply zone. If we're able to get over this area right here, could potentially look for a gap fill. So 238, 239, all the way to 250. It's pretty decent price. Anything below this, we're gonna have to backtrace some of this. So we're gonna have to back test some of this area around 204. So I'm looking at, this is my supply zone right here. I just built out of this drop right here. That's what I'm looking at. Really simple, I think, or I don't know. All right, DOCU. So DOCU, I actually posted a chart on Twitter with DOCU, and to be honest, I mean, the stock is kind of confusing to me. Because of this, basically the insane price action the last 4 days. And look at the volume on this. Look at the volume on this. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I would like to see a little bit more data after the last 4 days to understand what exactly is happening with this name, because theoretically we are creating the base of another breakout for another leg up. Like, look at this leg up. We've had no back testing in here because the name has been so strong. And yeah, so you're right. I mean, like, there's a ton of accumulation right over here in this area right here. So like, I really don't expect price to get below 180. If it ever does, you can bet your bottom dollar that we're going to be buying at this 180 level, which it also happens to be. So like, what I would have expected is like a sort of sideways move into a breakout. That would have been a normal move. You could even make it higher, like a sideways move right here into a breakout. But Zoom earnings really messed up that sort of pattern. I don't like this song. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm looking basically for gap fills. I mean, and like, this is very similar to Zoom, where if you have any rotation back into these names, then they're gonna fill their gaps above. Anything over this level right here, which was the high of the last leg up, 216, is a healthy trend. Anything in between this is a chop. Anything below this, not good. So this, I mean, if I were to draw like big lines, I can't do it actually. This is healthy, chop, sell. I mean, it's very simple on this name. You have to play the day-to-day price action on this. I would like to see some sort of consolidation into this name as well. All right. Well, unless we have some more requests. Oh, let's look at Grow Generation, because this is a name I actually am holding commons in, and it's really interesting. I hold commons in my IRA in this name, and I personally like the price action the last few days because it's creating what is essentially a very bullish pennant after a huge overshoot. Yeah, no problem. It's creating a really big pennant, and this level right here that we're seeing buyers come in to defend 13.5. I bought at 13.5 last time. I mean, like, that's part of what I'm doing. I'm just following what the money is doing right now. I'm buying 13.5, I bought here again, and I bought here again. If we ever close below, a day below 13, I'm going to sell every single share that I've accumulated with the intention of buying it back later on. But I'm buying in anticipation of a breakout. I mean, until it closes below this level, I'm not worried, especially this low. Friday's low gave us a nice little buyable, or a nice little stop on our name. And I'm buying in anticipation of a retest of 20.21 on a breakout of this nice little bullish pennant pattern. The name was so crowded up in here. It's too crowded. It needed to consolidate a little bit, and I'm happy to accumulate shares as people are selling them who bought up here. I don't. Let's see if I have. Let's see what else. Right. I have to cover my other baby. I'm sorry I neglected you, my baby. This is another hell of a name. I mean, like, there's some days where I watch this name every day, and there's some days where it moves 20 points, even 20-point range. On Friday, it had 3,400. It had almost a 300-point range, and it's kind of mesmerizing to watch in the middle of the day. I had a really funny play on Amazon on Friday because a 300 drop name into the 50 moving average on a strong name like Amazon, it's going to be bought up at least intraday. And so on Friday, I took a lotto right here, actually. I bought here on the way down. So I have to endure this little panic sell. I bought a 3,300 lotto for the day. And I ended up selling up in here and it's crazy because the options premium, it was not changing at all. It didn't really change until you got up in here. And I actually, it would be interesting to just look at, I don't even know how to show historical option price for that because they're no longer on the option chain. But so I bought here for about 250, and then when I got up to here, it was only like 350, even though it's almost 100-point swing on the same day on this. So it's just insane. The volatility was keeping the price inflated even as it went down. That's pretty much what was happening. So I sold it for a little profit, but yeah, EPHI. I don't trade EPHI, but I heard about that. So Amazon, what's interesting about Amazon is if you've been here since the beginning, you notice that the primary upper trend line has been held by some names and other names it has not. So Amazon did not hold the primary upper trend line, and it also fell below what was, if you had been following my tweets maybe a couple of weeks ago, was I called it like an A+ breakout setup. The A+ breakout setup, if you take away all the lines, is this triangle right here. Triangle, nice little ascending triangle with a breakout to the upside. My target was 3,600, I believe, with a secondary target of 3,800. And we didn't really get the Momo on the name that I was expecting. We didn't get the Momo. We basically sort of stair-stepped our way up and then elevated down, which is kind of really sad price action if you're a bull on the name. If you're trying to play momentum week to week instead of holding shares. But on Amazon, I can't go long on Amazon until we are back above this level. Sorry, you can't see it right here. So that wick right there, that wick is sellers. It was previously it provided support these 2 days in order for a move up. And I really can't go long above 3,400 because of the price structure here, which is keeping us below the previous high from the last move up. So I will buy a breakout above 3,400, even better above 3,450. But if there is some type of like bounce over here, the best I could do is a scalp on the name. If we retest 3,200 here, this 3,200 level, look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches. It's really important. It is also my pinned tweet on Twitter, me predicting that it would touch specifically this price back a while ago. I think it was over here, right there. But this supply zone right here, this is what it is, a supply zone. We need the price to move above the supply zone in order for us to look at buys. And ideally, we get over the primary trend line, very similar to the way Peloton got over its primary trend line after the good report from Goldman Sachs. So that's what I'm looking at for Amazon. If we form some type of, I don't know, if we get below this 3,200 and are holding below here, that is not a good sign for A, for the broader market, but B, for the stock price, because the volume structure on Amazon right now is really low below that. It would 2,500 is the next volume support. So overall, Amazon, it's a great name. It has not touched the 50-day since before Friday. It didn't touch the 50-day, and until since March. And I expect the price level of 3,200 to be defended in the short term. I would be really, really, really surprised if we got below the 50 EMA moving average and held below there. Like I can't imagine, with how bullish Amazon has been the last few months. We can actually look at the monthly chart. Oh my goodness. This monthly chart is beautiful as well. Nice little breakout pattern here. This is a sort of breakout pattern I was looking for on the daily chart, ascending triangle with a huge 5 candles in a row. So all we have right here is, we could see some nice little buyers accumulate on the monthly chart right here with buyers defending 3,200. That would create a very good buying opportunity in the short and long term, I believe. So that's what I'm looking at. There are some names that are more concerning than others. So, someone asked me to look at Chewy. I'm sorry. Obviously I haven't charted Chewy that much. And if I were to chart this, I would expect, let's go back here actually. I would expect some type of interesting. That's better. All right, well, Chewy has earnings on 9/10, same day as Peloton. I like charting after the earnings move. It's much more indicative of how buyers and sellers are digesting the data on the name. This basically is just following what Crowd and DOCU were both doing after Zoom earnings. Sort of an abnormal move outside the standard deviation, which is why the price action was so weird the last 4 days. I expect some sort of normalcy. I would look for some sort of normalcy to resume this week, unless there's more panic selling. In that case, like somewhere in this 52.4 area, I might have to create an alert in case there is more panic selling. This is something that I learned in March. Sometimes you just need to create alerts at demand zones that are really far, that seem far away at the time, because any sort of panic sell, if it reaches those levels, you'll be able to buy at a discount, because panic, they're selling their own shares at a discount relative to what the overall market value should be. So I'm actually gonna go through my names later on in case there is more of a panic sell coming after this week, in order to mark out where potential bounce targets could be. It's a good practice, and something that I think would be an edge on down days, is be able to set alerts for demand zones. Amazon split. Yeah, I'm ready for the Amazon split too. I think everyone was ready for the Amazon split, which is why it didn't happen. I don't know why Amazon didn't split. So, Jack, you asked me to look at Viacom a while ago, And what I had said, I believe, was that you would like to see some type of base form, or like for it to hold basically right here in order for it to fill higher. And we have, very similar to some of these other names, a change in trend. You know, how do I draw this actually? Because I know it goes back farther. Let's draw from here. It's steep. Like, is it like an IRA play that you're looking for, or is it an options play? I think that would better help me understand what you're looking at. But change in trend, change in the character of the trends is something that I look for. I also look for signs of accumulation. And if you look at this, the price, the volume right here, compared to the volume at 45.40, you know, there is accumulation in this name. And I think this is positive, especially right in here. You know, actually, I have a custom script, if I can find it. All right. So the script is telling you buyers and sellers on a certain day, especially high volume days. It's interesting. I'm just trying to process the data right now. Yeah, I mean, the what this is telling me is that there's healthy accumulation right now. It's nowhere near like primarily sellers, etc. And I think that is a very strong indicator of a bottom forming. Now, again, like, this is only if the market cooperates, but I think that this 34 target is plausible. Sure. You know, there needs to be some sort of good news, honestly, but you know, another good thing on this weekly chart is we have some type of bullish divergence on the RSI. Bullish divergence is, you know, there's a higher. So this is the last peak was around 43. Now we have more buyers, as I mentioned with the accumulation. There's just different ways to mention it. We have a bullish divergence in this name because, as you can see, the stock price is going up, or sorry, the RSI indicator is going up. Why is this not going? But the stock price is going down. This is, sorry, overall. Let's just look at this. There we go. That's better. All right, so the trend on the buyers on the RSI is up, but the price over that same time frame is down. So this is bullish divergence. Really easy to look up. So it's a good sign, again, for the name. I think that, you know, you need to find a healthy stop if you're wrong. And right now, this volume base right here is a pretty healthy stop, this downward trend line as well. So I don't think it's a bad play, especially if we get a little bit more, you know, news-based action or something. Do I like Intel? You know, I personally don't like picking losers. I'm sorry that I'm not trying to sound I'm not trying to sound whatever about that. What I mean is, the reason why NVIDIA, AMD are hot right now is because their business models, their future prospects are expanding. I prefer to buy names that have better future growth prospects, like Suru Paxana mentions, because the reason I do that, the reason I say that is because if the market were to turn down what do you think would be the first to get dumped? I personally think it's Intel. I mean, I don't think people are going to be dumping. I think there will be more people willing to dip by Nvidia than there are Intel. And if you look at the historical price on Intel, you know, it hasn't gone anywhere since 2018. If you compare that to some other names in the same sector, all right, 2018. I mean, it's been so this is the sector that it's in, SMH. If you compare it to the sector that it's in, it's been underperforming its sector. This is 2018 right in here. So we're about up, what is that, around like 65-70% on SMH in 2018, and Intel is negative on that same time period. So I like thinking of broader market conditions. Now, if you're asking like, okay, this week, what do you think? It doesn't move enough for me to be interested in it. If we were to get above, all right, let's say we get above Wednesday's high, 52. You know, I could scalp it to 53.5, and I could scalp it again above that to the 200 moving average, and then I could scalp it again to this base. But it's really difficult to capture moves like that. I traded Intel back in 2018, I believe, 2019, sorry, when it was doing this. This is kind of thing you can actually trade, because you're actually seeing some, you know, post earnings gap ups, consolidation, some more healthy movements, consolidation days in an uptrend. Intel is not in an uptrend. It's really difficult to capture momentum moves, which is what my personal style is. I capture momentum moves in trending names, and Intel is not one of those. So that's sort of part of the problem with Intel for me. Everyone on Intel was talking gap fill. You know, some gaps take a long time to get gap fills. I mean, okay, so let's look right here. Gap fill 64 right here, February 2020. It took. I mean, that's, you know, it's kind of I guess it's unfair to talk about Corona gaps down, but my point is, it might take a long time to fill that gap. Okay, let's look at stocks per the request. Isn't this a semiconductor? Yeah, it is. Oh, this is a semiconductor index. You know, I have a different one on my list, I think. Oh, it's on my sector list. That's what it is. Yeah, I look at this one. It's interesting. I think it's the same thing, but stocks with 2 X's is not leveraged, I believe. All right. So this name, I think it's historically been one of the stronger sectors. And sorry, I'm just trying to adjust this. Let's try to adjust this really fast. And the fact that the buyers came in at the 50-day moving average after not having to, it's kind of kind of classic. It's really tough to in the short term. We're sort of basing at the previous breakout level. Again, another good candidate for some type of breakout retest bounce. But it just requires a little bit more consolidation on this name. I don't expect the V pattern like I was mentioning earlier on the NASDAQ. Any sort of, so like, let's look at the past moves. So if we see, for example, a gap up, let's look right here. So the moving averages compress, and then we have an inside day, and then we have a gap up. That is a momentum name that you're able to buy. That's a momentum setup that you're able to buy. Inside day, you buy on the inside day on a compressed moving average setup, and you can sell on the gap up. You can roll your options on a gap up. You can roll your shares on a gap up. Sorry, you can increase your stop on your shares in a gap up. But until you get an inside day on or a gap up on above the moving averages, it's really difficult to predict anything else other than that. When stocks pull back, they pull back to their moving averages. It's very basic price action right there. So I mentioned one thing that I'm interested in. Okay, let's go through the sectors really fast. Let's look at some of the relatively strong sectors. Oh, this is actually VIX. Ahmed, welcome. Sure, I'll check on VIX. So I don't chart VIX because I don't think VIX follows normal buyer-seller price action, supply-demand rules. People are buying VIX as hedges on the broader market. You're better off charting the indices than VIX. But what I will say is this: is that we could potentially create a lower high right here if we're able to get below the moving averages. Lower highs are significant, and I would like to see this gap fill on VIX down in the 18. I think I was reading somewhere that historically, like in 2017, 2016, 2015, the VIX average was around 10 to 13. Obviously, we've been elevated VIX prices because of that, because of the recent volatility. But if we are to create a lower high, I would like to see us enter back in the 16 range. The way that I play VIX, as I was mentioning earlier, is that when VIX and SPY, let's just go like this. You can see my, when VIX and SPY are making highs together, I buy VIX because it is very rare. Let's see, what is 9292? It is very rare so this is one of those days, 92. It is very rare that VIX falls the next day when it rises with SPY. So, okay, this is a day when this is the top, it's Wednesday, I believe, but VIX was rising with SPY, and you can say it stayed at the highs, above its morning high. And I like also looking at UVXY. UVXY is my favorite volatility instrument. The delta is a lot better. So UVXY, again, it was near the high. I bought it. I bought UVXY actually on Wednesday because it was making highs with SPY. The next day, it just spiked. It just went insane. I think I made like 500% on that. But I use VIX as hedges against my long positions because I want to be able to capture the momentum if there is more momentum, but I also want to be hedging in a way that is profitable to me. And that's the way that I decided to play it. Yeah, let's look at gold because gold is a name that I've been watching for a while, and it hasn't, this bullish pennant that I pointed out maybe a couple weeks ago is not playing out the way that I thought it would. There was not a lot of follow through. I realize I'm new to trading gold. I haven't been trading gold for that long, and I'm realizing that gold kind of plays out over a much longer term than other equities. Than normal equities. And this commodity, we're basically probably going to form a huge ass cup and handle right here. I will buy leaps on gold if we come into this handle area right in here, 274 or 174. I'll buy leaps. My target will be up in here, 218 and 224. So you know what? I'm just going to do this right now. I'm going to set an alert. 174.50. Oops, wait a minute. I think I created that alert for... Yeah, I think I created it out of both. But anyway, sorry. So alert, it's going to tell me buy leaps on gold at this level. And you know what I'm expecting, cup and handle is a great pattern to trade. I'm expecting it to look a little bit like this. A little bit like this right here. Just like this right here. So this is the level right here that I'm setting the alert for on gold, you know, symmetrical level. And I'm looking for this type of move right here. So that's my play. This is the cup, this is the handle, that's the breakout. That's how you play cup and handles. You can play it two ways. You buy the breakout here, or you can accumulate on the handle. And in the market that we're in right now, it's a pattern that's been working out. Other than that, I think that I've gone through everything that I've needed to go through for this week. There are some names. Yeah. Unless there is more requests, probably going to stop right here. It's been an hour and a half. Not bad for first live stream, but gonna give people a minute or two to try and, or like see if they can come up with a question. But futures are green. I know. I have calls because I have SPY calls. I don't have QQQ calls. I have SPY calls. I did it small sizing on Friday. I only did it because SPY has been relative, you know, a little bit of a shift into different names like industrials, transportation. What's the other thing that was strong? The defense, like Lockheed Martin, etc. I'm looking at just basically selling on a gap up. I think there was some interesting historical data for... Sorry, Keith, I did cover NVIDIA. You'll have to scroll back. There's some interesting historical data on what price does after Labor Day. And someone corrects me. You can look it up if I'm wrong and correct me later. But I believe that 90% of Labor Day's SPY has gapped up. And so I basically am just playing the statistics on that. It's another way to just make some easy money. XRT, yeah, I think that's the transportation index, right? But what was I saying? Oh, there's a lot of little ways that I tried to get an edge in my profit and loss by just, you know, playing the percentages. And you have to do it over and over again. If you do it just one day, you're not giving yourself a chance to be on the better probability side. So if there is a 60% chance of rolling a 1 and you only bet once, then you could be part of that 40%. But if you do it 100 times, you know, you're going to be winning 60 out of 40 of those. So there's some plays that I have in my playbook where I'm basically playing the percentages, and this is just one of those. Oh, XRT retail. Sorry, you're right. Yeah, XRT. But I was covering some of those names with Etsy shop, um, Etsy shop, and OSTK Overstock. Another name that I think super bloated. Wayfair. The thing about this chart right there is that this looks like a little bit of a rollover. Um, if I were to invert the chart, if I were to invert the chart, it would show, you would think it was a bottom, but because, like, we're just naturally bullish on a lot of things. I mean, at least the healthy ones of us are. People who are sort of masochistic or want to be like, yeah, it's a top right now. But this on a intraday chart, they correlate, the candlestick patterns. On an intraday chart, I would be buying short right here because I would just use this candle, which is a reversal candle, as my stop. So it's kind of interesting. And the again, the price structure right here, it's not conducive. Like, pullbacks on this name will be deep. Yeah, it was a cup and handle. It's already resolved. Definitely a cup and handle for sure. But the pullback on this name can be deep. It can go all the way back to this breakout level of 46.45, at which point it would definitely find some support. But you can see the sort of really precarious volume structure in a lot of these names, like shop, like right here. Anything below 880, this area right here, OSTK already covered that, or like already talked about that. This is what happens right here when you have a very sort of flimsy volume structure. These parabolic moves. That's why I always talk parabolic moves not that healthy. You're gonna get caught with your pants down. Wayfair, another parabolic move. Low volume. Look at what happens when you have low volume structure. Hi, Oscar. That is my girlfriend's brother. But look at what happens when you have a low volume structure. You get deep pullbacks, these deep V's, and it's dangerous to chase when you are starting to roll over like this. This is what it looks like when you start to roll over. You have a little bit of a bear flag, a little triple inside or a double inside day, and then you continue downward. So like, let's look to see on XRT, actually, if we get one green day that is inside this bar right here below the 9-day, let's see if we can continue to see some more weakness in the name relative to other the transportation index, for example. But anyway, all right, y'all, 5:30. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for joining. I'll be sure to do another one of these later on. If you liked it, thank you for leaving a like. Hit the sub button. Follow me on Twitter at WatchJoshTrade, where I am doing a lot of this stuff in real time. If you ever have a question, you can at me. Sometimes I don't respond to DMs because I get a lot of them now, and it's just much easier to be able to reference mentions than DMs. But I really appreciate all of you guys. Have a nice evening. Enjoy Labor Day. Peace out.